Three, two, one, go. Welcome to the podcast. Fitness is the art of life, and today I have a privilege to have Paige Romanowski, my friend, as a guest. Paige is very well known on East End, personal trainer, an expert in nutrition, and a business owner as well. Hi, Paige. How you doing?
Thanks so much for having me. This is just awesome. Great to see your face, and I'm looking forward to having some good conversations with you.
I have some gratitude to you because I remember when I just got to the States and I started working as a trainer here. I went to Maximus. I remember I didn't even like know language well at the time, but you and actually Greg were so welcoming and so nice to me, and I felt like home very quickly. So thank you for that. That was really nice. I was like 20 something at the time, and that was super encouraging. So thanks.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I definitely miss the days of working in a commercial gym, but then again, I don't really miss the days of working in a commercial. It's certainly not a commercial gym like that, so to speak, but yeah.
Did you start actually working as a trainer in Maximus, or you have history walking going past that?
Um, well, it originally started at Ultimate Fitness, which then went out of business. And that was right when Bodyrite training was getting its legs, and I was starting to figure out what my mission was going to be. And it was a real challenge for me being a woman in a predominantly male dominated environment, not just in terms of trainers, but also population. I mean, Ultimate Fitness was really a truly lifting gym. Certain, kind of like a Gold's Gym, and but really no rules. So um, it was a challenge for me to come in and kind of compete with guys that had been there for a while. And how am I going to set myself apart from from a male dominated industry? And definitely what I was seeing in real time was male dominated. There were no female trainers at the time that were working through Ultimate Fitness. And this is before there was even really social media. Facebook was just getting its footing also. And I just figured out, you know what? Everyone is coming to these guys to lose weight, but they're selling fitness. And this is even before I came up with a name, Body Right Training. So I thought, you know what? The only way I'm going to beat these guys at their own game is to be smarter than them and to be able to give people what they really want, which is nutrition. I mean, that's the lie of the wellness industry, is that, and I'm not trying to put myself out of a job or you, but fitness is not the gateway to higher health or to permanent weight loss, right? It's a part of it, but it's definitely not the gateway. And unfortunately, that is the Kool-Aid that most gym settings and boutique fitness studios are selling, is come and work out with us and you're going to look like this. So I had to get a book in my hand and start reading and learning and taking ownership of my own wellness journey, but also giving myself an edge. And while I was also doing that, I was putting stuff up on Facebook, and I was really marketing myself on Facebook where these other guys weren't. And they thought I was crazy for what I was doing, but it ended up paying dividends down the road.
You were years before the mainstream fitness influencers about nutrition, about the importance of carefully picking your food. You were reviewing food products and talking about calories and macros and everything. So I give you a lot of credit for that because that was really ahead of the time in a way, and then there was no TikTok at the time. You were starting on Facebook. Yeah, just like you said.
Oh, thank you. It's humbling to hear that. I appreciate the love, brother. Yeah, it was a tremendous time to be in that time, and to be learning what I was learning, and sharing it, kind of with my world, with the gym. It was an exciting time, and a lot of that stuff. The people that I was like Grain Brain. Grain Brain was one of the first books I read, written by Dr. David Perlmutter, who is a neurologist. very well respected. His son is now following in his footsteps, Dr. Austin Perlmutter. But that was the first book that I read, I believe. And I was putting oatmeal in my shakes and, bread and whatever. And I was like, I'm not going to eat bread anymore. Absolutely not. And then I experienced, a life-changing thing. I felt better. My eczema went away. I lost some weight. And then I'm like, wow, that was kind of fun. I'm going to read another book. And then it just was book after book after book. And that was the thing. One of my mentors, he actually has a facility here in Aiken. His name is Kenny Ray. His business is called Kenny Ray Personal Fitness. So much of what I did, I learned from him. He was the first functional trainer that I met. My parents were working out with him
Mm.
here in Aiken. And, it was just different. I was always kind of into plyometric stuff and isolation training, but this functional training was really interesting. And every time I would come and visit, I would always go to that studio. And it was him that really lit a fire under my ass, for lack of better words, to really push me to take this seriously. Because I was just helping people at the time. This is before Bodyrite, just helping people uh, at Ultimate Fitness. My sister-in-law, who's no longer with us, and some other people that I took on pro bono. And I was then going back to the studio in Aiken here in South Carolina. And he said to me one day, you need to like do this for real. And I was so against it at the time because I did not want to compete against my friends. Greg Trent was a dear friend of mine. And so was Frank Zagarino, two trainers working at Ultimate Fitness. And I just, I don't know if it's my Sagittarian self or whatever, but when I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it. And I knew if I was going to fully send this dream, that I was going to just knock it out of the park. And I didn't want to lose my friends, and Greg and I are still friends. We hit some rough patches, but it's very competitive, and it can be very cutthroat in the gym industry, especially the way Maximus has it set up with trainers and stuff. And me being a female, I feel like I had to work 5 times harder than the next guy, to get respect, right? To get street cred, and to get clients.
Yeah, I definitely it's mostly male dominated
Yeah.
environment. That's for sure. Even now, and in general, I think there's more male trainers than females. I think that just how it goes. But I want to say also you were very early also on stuff, and still up until today, there is not many trainers that talk about stuff like hormones, for example. And you
Yeah.
were, yeah, you were big in that. You still are. So that's something that really makes you unique as a trainer. And I think it's also, in a way, it's your strength because, hormones is something mostly women are concerned about. And do you have actually most female clients, or how does that go with your work?
I mean, when I look over the course of the last 15 plus years, probably mostly women, but my boot camp drew quite a few men to that class on the beaches there of the North Fork. You know, and then when Bodyrite moved to Jamesport, New York, we had a good bit of both. So, different, like right now I'm primarily working with female clients, and I have really probably for the last 2 years. But it was different when we were in our Jamesport location, and it was different even at Maximus. I had quite a few male clients, because I feel like there is this stigma, about women training men. Um, I mean, I love working with both. I love working with women. My comfort zone is probably men because I grew up in a family of all boys. I
Mm.
definitely kind of that's my comfort zone. But yeah, because women, I don't know what the stats are, but women are more committed than men when it comes to their fitness. And I don't know what the percentage is, but I read that somewhere. But I think that is generally true.
Yeah, for men, it's really difficult to ask for guidance and advice from anyone, even from other men, and even more so from a
Right.
woman. So it's that psychological struggle as well. Yeah, but it seems like you made very well, and then you I remember you came up right away with the nice logo and visually, and it was very professional. From I remember when I just walked into the Maximus first time, like your logo was popping up there, and then and also, like I said, you were very welcoming. So your whole demeanor was very professional and also very friendly. So that was really nice. And I think it's also part of your success that you connect well with people. What do you attribute that? to is it like your upbringing or decision to be like that, or you're just like naturally friendly?
Well, I like to think that I'm naturally friendly. My husband might disagree with you on that one. Um, you know, there's a lot of different ways I can respond to that, Martine. I love people, and I know it's one of my gifts. I know it's the gift that God has given me, the gift of encouragement, and the gift of service and helping people. And, you know, I wore a lot of different hats before leading up to this role that I now carry, and take very seriously as a personal trainer and health coach. I have a background in secondary education and English, my 4-year degree. I worked in customer service and retail for a long time. I feel like I was raised right, by my mom and my dad, both being God-fearing Christians, that instilled lifelong values, my faith as a Christian. But I really tremendously have such a huge passion for helping people. It's a weight that I bear, and it's a compulsion that I have. So now, 20 years down the road, whatever, sure, I was just doing a consultation with a client. If you're in the gym industry, if you're a personal trainer, if your goal is to make money, you probably should not be in this industry. Your motivation is wrong, right? Um, and I would like to think that most people in this industry that their motivation is in the right place to truly help people. So when it's kind of hard for me to put a dollar amount on it, because so much of what I give away, I give away freely because I feel like that's important to give back. But we all have to pay our bills, so we do have to put a number on it. But it's just it's I was built for this, Martin. I was built to help people, and I will continue to until the day that I die. I'm currently
Mhm.
helping my mom with my dad, who, is struggling in the aging process. And, it's why I'm in South Carolina. It's why I closed the chapter of New York, the physical chapter of New York down because of my obligation to my family, because I can, and I have brothers and they can't necessarily do what I can do. So I feel very, very blessed, to be in South Carolina, and to have this job because, it's brought me to some incredible, incredible places. It's a privilege to be able to help people, but that's really ultimately my goal, is just to help unpack so much untruth out there about the power of real food and what a simple thing, changing the quality of your plate, and how that really is the prescription for true health. And fitness is so, so important. It's an important component of that. But it's multifaceted, right? It's not just this singular one way. If you do this, you've got it. No, you got to work on sleep. You got to work on stress. You've got to work on your movement, and you got to work on the quality of your plate. And it's tough. So if I can bring some clarity to that conversation for someone, if I can be that support system, if I can be that person to show them how to hold a weight, then I can rest at night and feel good about the work that I did today.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely mission driven job work.
Yeah.
So I kind of following up on what you said, without going much into politics, but I know a lot of people in fitness are really excited for Mr. Kennedy is doing and what he's promising about like getting into our food and all the toxins that we have in our products. You were talking about this stuff for years, and then I'd like to use your advice and your expertise in this. Like, maybe in general, like, what do you think about our food and what we can change and what are the hopes? And then, do you think it's even possible to change the like whole mindset about this stuff for the future generations?
Well, to touch on your first point, I am super, super excited about Bobby Kennedy Jr. Getting the nominations, and he's in. I'm excited for his vision, and I'm very, very hopeful. I think it's a big machine to undo. They've got a lot of work ahead of them because this is just so indoctrinated, in our food system, in our political system. We have created a sick care system. We need people to get sick to pay everybody's bills in this country. And it's nice to see that people in the higher ups are recognize that and recognize that we need to change it. It's also affirming to me, to see so many leaders that I respect in the wellness industry being uh, seated at his table. You know, people
Mm.
that I follow, books that I read, that I have fashioned and sculpted my own program after are now sitting at that table is really, really exciting. Our food system is completely broken. And again, it's all a trap. When I try to get clients to understand, the reason why you can't stop eating this particular food is because it's engineered for you to get addicted. Like there are mad, evil scientists that don't even know that they're evil, sitting in rooms, figuring out how to get you to be a lifelong consumer, and it doesn't matter what the cost is. It just matters that they're getting your money. And when you start looking at the bigger picture of our food system, you realize that you're just a rat and a number in the big game called money and healthcare and sick care. And that really ticks off a lot of people, especially, doctors that are also indoctrinated into this broken system, but it's not their fault. It's not their fault that they only got like one course in nutritional science. It's not their fault that I know a little more than they do, but that's why you can never stop learning. That's why you always have to have a book in your hand. And, once you go through that system and you get your board certified degree, you've got your CEUs, but the stuff that they're learning is like 30 years outdated. And that's not helpful when you've got people going to the grocery store and they're eating brown stuff instead of white stuff because it's supposed to be slower in your metabolism. They have diabetes. I mean, again, it's all connected. So, our food system really is total crap. And we need to start, and again, not to be political, but a lot of this stuff kind of came out during COVID. These Whole Foods went after someone I consider a friend, Dr. Kate Shanahan, who's written multiple books. She was on the Mayor show, the Bill Mayer show, and threw Whole Foods under the bus by calling them out on selling toxic seed oils in their oil aisle. And guess what? Amazon took her newly released book, Fat Burn Fix, off the market for like 6 to 8 weeks. They punished her for speaking out about it. The founder, his name eludes me right now. He's the owner of White Oak Pastures in Bluffton, Georgia. The sixth generation regenerative farm. I used to be an affiliate for them. Really high quality, grass fed, grass finished, corn free, grain free, chickens. High quality farm. They were hated on. Whole Foods took him off the shelf because he kind of threw them under the bus on a Joe Rogan podcast and just said, they're trying to, Whole Foods is trying to be like my farm, by offering grass-fed beef, but it's not really grass-fed, grass-finished. And next thing you know, they were selling their eggs and some other products. Whole Foods kicked them right out. So these guys now, and a lot of that happened, not because of COVID, but kind of during COVID, a lot of weird stuff with farms, and people supporting the whole food movement got taken down during COVID. And now, they're kind of now getting vindicated. And excuse me, my Cocker Spaniel.
Mhm.
I knew he was the one that I knew was going to ruin our video.
Mhm.
But these people are now kind of being vindicated, and Joe Rogan has a lot to do with putting these people back on the map and getting their degrees back in line, because so many of these doctors and people that are respected in this industry were, tarred and feathered, so to speak. So that's a very long answer to your short question, but yeah, I hope all of it changes. And I don't know, and I'm not a negative Nelly. I'm very much an optimist over anything else, a realist or a negativist or a pessimist. He's going to have a tough time because the political machine is well funded. And there's a lot of political interests, and that's why everyone's all up in arms because people are scared, and they should be. But we need this, because we're not going to have a country in a couple centuries. I mean, our kids, our children are obese at the age of 3. And we can fix that. We can fix that. So I hope that we can.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things to be fixed. That's for sure. I gotta tell you, one thing that really shocked me is like I don't remember exactly where I learned that, but I think I was listening to some maybe podcast actually, where there was talk about how big companies, whether they're potato chips or a chain, food chain restaurants, they hire psychologists as a consultants, the experts in addictions,
Yeah.
and they use their expertise in addiction to make food and marketing more addictive. That's so shocking. It's extremely shocking. But
It is
also, like
extremely shocking.
what you said about our kids, like a lot of kids, they cannot pass any uh, physical exams, like whether it's to I don't know if you are aware actually, but somebody was explaining to me that the physical tests to police academy, firefighters, they are easier now than they were 15
Oh
years
yeah.
ago, and this is terrible.
It's terrible. They did the same thing in the military with women. You know, at some point, oh, we want to be treated equally as men, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get that. Well, then you have females, in the Marines doing the standard pull-ups and they couldn't do it. So they had to bring it down because guess what? Men are physically different than women. We're not talking about who's better, but different. So they had to change the standards. So yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but even besides that, even the requirements for men are easier than they were in the past because we
Yeah.
don't have enough people to to pass them. So this is terrible. I actually I remember like about 10 years ago, I had from time to time clients who were like, "Oh, I want to get to police. Can you train me for this test?" And that doesn't happen anymore.
No, it doesn't. We at Bodyrite we did work with quite a few people trying to get ready for police academy. We did have some successes. A lot of anyone that's Bodyrite, you don't need to train to get in police academy. You're good. But yeah, there were those sad sorts that that it was the push-ups and the sit-ups killed them. Oh, and the run, right? The
Yeah.
run that they had to do or whatever. Yeah. So it is sad. You have to laugh because otherwise you just cry.
I want to ask you, because you're not only a trainer, an educator, but you are a business owner. How does it? Is it easy on Long Island in New York State to run a fitness studio? What are the challenges of being a business owner, and what's the whole character of running fitness studio? How is that different from different businesses?
Well, the owning a gym is very different than any other kind of business. Because it's difficult to get people in the door, right? To get people to create a habit. So you have that challenge versus selling goods or having a liquor store. Those are things that people need. Fitness really is kind of considered a luxury, especially now. I mean, and there wasn't none of that. Now there's another Cocker Spaniel. Great. Now there is so many fitness is more accessible versus what it was like when you and I first met. There was really none of that. No Peloton, no apps, and it just was very different back then. It was kind of like you had to go to a gym or hire a personal trainer, and that was kind of it. So owning, gym ownership in New York is tough. It's worth it though. And it was very different, being Paige Romanowski, personal trainer, Bodyrite training versus independent contractor, working in different gyms versus brick and mortar space at in Jamesport, New York. Whole nother level of responsibility, a tremendous responsibility because not only and forget about the liability aspect and forget about the overhead aspect, which is sizable. I mean, my space was 3,000 square feet. Is big. But also too, like I'm responsible for people. I had up to like 7 people that were on staff with me. And those are paychecks I'm worried about and not that people were, you know, feeding their families, but these were, most of the people working for, well, somewhere. But it's a tremendous responsibility. It's a lot of work. It's eat, breathe, sleep, your gym. You're always concerned about the bottom line. And I don't want to say I didn't like it. I loved every minute of it, and I definitely tried to be grateful and thankful for the tremendous blessing and responsibility. But it it was really hard. I didn't, it's hard when you create something like body right training, my baby, and then to not to share it or and to entrust it to other people because it wasn't just, body right is not a gym. It's a lifestyle. And that was the tough thing was to find people that could adhere and live authentically to that mission. I'm very finicky and I will continue to be who's going to work for me. Like if you're not doing the body right thing, if that's not your life, then you don't belong here, because now I'm not authentic. Now the Kool-Aid that we're selling is not true, So I was really strict with people working for me. Like, you can't wear body right stuff if you're going to go and do something stupid. Like, take my shirt off. I don't need you like getting busted doing something dumb. You know, when Funny story, whenever we would go, my husband and I would go and get ice cream, which is not very often. We would park like three parking spots away, like I mean, three parking lots away, rather, like across the street, like in the corner, and I would make him go and get it because did not want anyone. Because people like take a picture of me, like I had to really be very low key about my life, and not that I'm trying to hide things, but the ice cream, it's like, I'm like, hey, it's a special treat. I just ran a marathon, but I had to be really careful about my personal, my private life, because I made it that way. I'm very transparent about what I was doing, and what people perceived I was doing. And it was the same way with my staff. I was very concerned about what are you doing outside of this gym? And to a point, I mean, they're not slaves, they have a life. And the people that worked for me wanted to be there. But there was just a lot of layers of responsibility. And now looking back, like, I'm rewriting a new chapter here in Aiken, South Carolina. I think I think right now I'm would like to take a time out on managing people. I've done that my whole life, whether I was in corporate America, retail, healthcare. I was a practice manager for in pediatrics and oncology, managing people. I need a break from that. But I enjoyed every minute of it. If it's, there's a couple of trainers here in Aiken that I'm sort of mentoring, and one of them really wants to own a gym. And that's great. I get it. I had to do it too. I actually got kicked out of Maximus, by the way. So it wasn't like I came up with starting body right training all on my own. I didn't. I got kicked out of Maximus twice. So, and the second time I got really mad. I was like,
Oh,
okay.
I didn't know any of that actually.
Oh yeah, yep. I got kicked out. But and I'll circle back to that. But this trainer that I'm sort of mentoring, she wants to own a gym. Okay, that's great. I get it. But you need to do the work now. Work as a personal trainer for 3, 4, 5 years because you can never know enough. Save your money, and get ready because it's a big nut. It's a big responsibility, especially when you have people working for you, and you've got that. I made a lot. I did much better financially working by myself. I made no money personally when I opened up my gym, but that was okay. I signed up for all of that. It was really exciting to bring Body Right to the masses. And I loved every minute of it. It's worth it all. It was worth it. And maybe I'll get an opportunity to do it again. We'll have to see what the future holds. But I don't know. I kind of went round and around with that answer. But yeah, that's you never sleep.
Hmm. I actually love how you present that because first of all, I see you as a leader because you have a mission and vision for what you do, but you didn't want to just create a product, but you created a culture,
Yes.
and this is awesome. And you are upholding your employees or partners to a certain standard, which is great. Actually, you mentioned that a lot of things haven't been available when we were starting at that time, like 10, 15 years ago. And you know what? I just had this reflection the other day. I went to Planet Fitness in Riverhead, and I noticed like the gym is packed every day. It's packed.
Mhm.
And 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't like that. There were some people on
No.
the treadmills. It was pretty much empty. The gyms were empty. And I was thinking to myself, this was like collectively, like you, me, Greg, other people, we were trying to bring that culture to people. And I think collectively we succeed because now fitness is so normal. It wasn't like that 10 years ago.
No, it wasn't.
People don't realize that.
No, it wasn't. And the interesting thing about Planet Fitness, because Greg, GT and I made fun of Planet Fitness. We're not going there. It was like flying in the thread of Maximus, and the Planet Fitness model is just brilliant. How they lured people in with bagels and pizza, and they really kind of hated on the gym rats to make the non-gym rats feel comfortable. And it worked. It paid dividends. Also, the ridiculous low price membership. It's like the apps we have on our phone now. Oh, 50 cents a month. That's nothing. Even if I don't use it, it's too much of a bother to cancel it. It's the same thing with the Planet Fitness membership. It's such a silly little nominal fee that it doesn't matter if you don't go. And that's what they bank on. That's why they have also been successful, is because they bank on you joining and not going. So that's why the wear and tear of the equipment isn't so bad, because most people don't really go. I mean, we see the gym is packed, but the membership is so much more. It was brilliant. And I couldn't help, but I had to join because there was no way I was going to go back to Maximus after getting kicked out. And I think I did a little video about it the other day. I think Planet Fitness is excellent because people also too, back then, you belong to one gym and that's it. That's your home. You're going there for this, for that. You don't belong anywhere else now. And even when Bodyrite training was up and coming, I was big into loyalty. It would really bother me when people were kind of going elsewhere to do other stuff. Like, why aren't you coming just to us? Like, we're enough. But that's not how people really shape their fitness weeks. They have a membership at Planet Fitness or maybe Gold's Gym, but they also belong to this boutique studio because they really like this one class. And then they also have a personal trainer that I meet with once a week. There's a lot of that going on. So it's not just this one place I belong to anymore. So I had to get over that and not take it personally. And guess what? I do the same thing in my own fitness week in my fitness journey. I belong to Planet Fitness. I go to Orange Theory for community because I'm tired of working out by myself, but I also work out by myself. And when I'm back in New York, I work out the Bodyrite studio and I'll go and work out with somebody that's kind of how people shape and I've got the Peloton. A lot of people have Peloton, and that's just kind of how it is now. So,
Yeah, fitness definitely evolved a lot in the last decade. It did change with technology, with other stuff.
yeah.
Uh, if I can come back to your studio, like you, because yeah, you mentioned that it's very different model, business model. Like the reason why I am not opening and stuff is first of all, I'm intimidated by by that. That's one thing. But
No.
the other one is that it's so nice to know that you have barely any expenses. Like I just go to my client and I come back, whether it's at their home or in the gym. I barely have any business expenses. All my expenses is the transportation. That's all.
Yeah.
I have my gym bag with equipment. That's all I need, and it's easy. But like
Yes.
you said, once you have a space, you have to pay the bills and rent, and it's a lot. And then people, and you need to have a front desk person and all that. It's immediately building up.
Yeah, there's something to be said for freedom. I it's a beautiful thing. You can do whatever you want, so to speak. You can make and break your own rules. It's different when you have a brick and mortar space. It's all about the hustle. You have to constantly be hustling. And probably one of the biggest mistakes I made, two mistakes. If I could go back, I would do it differently. I think just these two mistakes. I mean, I made lots of mistakes, but these two I would change. First, the first thing I would change, that was challenging for me, was how do I pay my personal trainers? How do I pay everybody? Um, Now it was interesting when this was all going down. Not so I got kicked out of Maximus twice. Uh, for no reason. Can was very the God bless you, Can was kind of threatened by me. I think whatever. But anyway, I was falsely accused of stealing money from the gym, and I was being bullied by the owners constantly. And my husband interceded on my behalf twice, but the second time I came back from vacation and I was told to pick up my stuff and leave. And there was, there was no going back. I mean, I actually had a client that I was training when I was kicked out. It was a really traumatic experience, actually.
Wow, and that's also disrespectful. And
Oh,
I
it's
would
terrible.
say it's probably was devastating for you since that was, well, first of all, you were so dedicated to that job. It was, like you say, it's still your life mission to help people. And did you have at the time the vision for starting your own studio, or that was just the consequences of being put in that situation?
Well, so when Ultimate Fitness closed, um, they didn't have a backup plan. And real quickly, they had to scramble and find a backup plan. So the backup plan was Blockbuster. We call it Blockbuster Fitness. So they moved into that front building. I don't even know what it is now, AT&T or something. And it was Blockbuster Video at the time, but no more. They had left. So they took whatever equipment they could. They hired a moving company. They didn't even pay the moving company. So the moving company ended up repossessing like 80% of the equipment of Ultimate Fitness. So what 20% they could get over to Blockbuster was what made the gym, right? And I found this out later, but that's what happened. They weren't paying their bills at Ultimate Fitness. Bodyrite training was just up and coming. I've got clients. I'm now getting paid. I walk in and I'm told, the gym is closing on Thursday. I'm like, what? Now, meanwhile, all the other trainers, they had other places to go to work with clients. I'm like the greenhorn of the bunch, and I don't know what to do. Well, my husband and I decided, we had an unfinished basement, beautiful with really high ceilings, and we converted that to my first studio. So again, we're all independent contractors at Ultimate Fitness, Blockbuster Fitness, and then Maximus, which means you can work wherever you want, right? You're not an employee, right? So when Blockbuster Fitness was time to come to an end, there was new ownership and stuff, some shady stuff, whatever. But so Maximus was now being built, and I wanted to work there, and the way it was kind of set up, you kind of had to prove yourself, whatever. Greg was already going to be in, Zagarino was going to be in, am I going to be in? So my husband and me moved the whole gym, Blockbuster, to Maximus. I have the pictures to prove it. We moved the gym. I arranged the whole thing. I was the one that made that gym happen. And they ended up, I don't know how, they had to pay Jurnick Moving because they had repossessed all of their equipment to get it back. It was a whole big thing. But anyway, we got an 18-wheeler, skid loaders, everything. I mean, we had like 15 treadmills we had to move out of there. We moved all the equipment single-handedly in like 12 hours and got paid zero.
Wow.
And
Wow.
got paid zero for it. Um,
I think people don't realize that how difficult is moving gym equipment. It's hard enough to moving when you're moving to different apartment, but just imagine every machine has hundreds of
Yeah,
pounds.
not less equipment. I mean, weights, the plates, oh my gosh, the mats. So anyway, and we did all that because I wanted an office and I wanted to be recognized, and you better take care of body right training because we're taking care of you. Well, that ended up blowing up in our face. I got kicked.
Wow, but that's talking about going extra mile.
Yeah, yeah, big time. But you know what? Hey, listen, I don't wish bad things on anybody, but karma has a way of working itself out. But anyway, uh so anyways, when I was asked to leave the second time, I mean, literally, I had to pack my stuff and I had to walk down all the way down the gym with all my crap. It was it was humiliating, but I was so ticked off. I had to be pushed. It took someone to push me to take that step of faith. And I had a client that was saying to me, Paige, one of my first clients, Paige, you know why this is happening to you, right? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're getting picked on all the time. I was getting bullied by girls at the gym, clients of other trainers and stuff. It was challenging, so much so that I had extreme anxiety every Sunday night going to bed about going to work on Monday, about fear of the unknown of what's going to happen today. And he said, the whole reason why this is happening, Paige, is because you're just not supposed to be comfortable. There are bigger and better things for you out there, and it's not this gym. You're not supposed to be comfortable right now. And sure enough, 6 months later was when I got kicked out the second time. And the space that I drove by every day on the way to the gym, I always thought that would make such a great studio for Bodyrite. I always thought that, and I never thought it was attainable. And literally, while a particular person was knocking on the door and trying to, take my sign down without my permission. I'm on the phone with Ben with the owner of the building, and I had called a couple times before, like months, a year back, and never got a return phone call. I called the number again. He picked up the phone. Next thing you know, we negotiated the quickest, easiest lease negotiation ever in 2 weeks, signed, sealed, and delivered. That happened in like October, like September, October. I got kicked out. I was on because I came back from the beach with my family. So it was like the end of September. We opened January 4th. And it was amazing because I just I knew it was God's plan for my life because it just happened so seamlessly. Like, when things aren't working out and you're dealing with all kinds of strife and friction, maybe this is not what you should be doing. Maybe you're forcing the issue and should take a step back and reevaluate. It was just, the construction and the money and everything just it worked out. The vibe with the building owner, it worked out. And Michael Carosa and I had had a coffee together months and months and months and months, maybe even a year. I think it was actually a year before that. And he was kind of down and out and wasn't even sure he was going to continue training people. And he was like the brightest guy at Ultimate Fitness. And he's still a very super bright guy, really gifted personal trainer. And him and I always just vibed at the front desk. Just I would just shoot crow with him, just talking about food, and he got it. I loved talking with him at the end of my workout or the beginning of my workout. So when this was happening, I knew that there's no way I could do this all on my own. I'm going to need help. And so we had this coffee and he was asking, hey, he kind of was asking me for a job. And I was like, I don't know I don't know what to do with you. I don't know how I would do that. Like, I don't have the overhead to pay somebody else. Like, I just wasn't ready. I wasn't there. But then when this opportunity, I guess it was an opportunity, happened, this blessing really happened. I thought of him immediately and we sat down and I hired him. So back to my two mistakes was I didn't know how to pay people, because when you're a personal trainer, you're used to that hourly rate, whether it's $35 an hour, $65 an hour, whatever. Um, what am I going to pay this person? And uh, I gave everybody the option. Do you want to work on commission or do you want an hourly rate? Everybody wanted an hourly rate. And that was my mistake. I should have put everybody on a base salary and I should have built in a commission structure with incentives. It's absolutely what I would do now, that there would be incentives to like a bonus to bring in a new client. You would also get an increase in base salary as long as you're retaining those existing clients, to keep them motivated and working. And on top of that, the mistake I also made was, you know, I put an employee on salary, and the minute I did that, because the employee wanted me to, the minute I did that, their incentive to work and to be productive went down the toilet, because now they've got their salary. I don't have to work any harder than I did yesterday. I don't need to do any more than I did yesterday. There was no incentives, to me from as a business owner. That was an incentive. I'm paying you, you can count on this money every week. Um, so that was a big mistake that I made was the payment structure. Now it's one of the reasons why CrossFit has failed. There's really not a lot of CrossFit gyms. Most of them have closed. I think maybe
That's right.
and it's because of the way that the owner set up the CrossFits, the way the process of becoming an affiliate. And now some of these affiliates are kind of running like privately owned gyms and wanted to do their own thing. And they kind of had to step in line and do it this way. So there was no room for autonomy and growth and incentive to build and make more money for the person that established the business and the people that are running the business. um that's one of and also the injury rate is also why CrossFit failed. But yeah, so and I mean, I don't consider what happened with Bodyrite, it was not failure, but looking back on how I would do things differently, I would definitely fix the way that I pay people, because you got to reward people for hard work. And I tried to do that in the best way that I could in other ways too. but I would never give people the choice. You would absolutely be getting a base pay, and you're going to get a commission, and we're going to do bonuses and incentives for you to keep the machine going, to keep that hustle going. So, and I forget what my second mistake was, but anyway, that was one of them. So.
Yeah, I hear you, but that's such a big step up from just doing the training to be a business owner, and you were still a trainer at the time and having to manage people and place and equipment. That's a lot more responsibilities and
It's a lot more.
immediately.
It is. And I really do, I'm good. I'm very good at managing people. I am. And I'm a people person. I can do that. But what I really missed as, as the years would pass by was working with clients and being a part of people's transformation stories and the education component. Those are my favorite things. I love educating people. I love doing the coursework and the fit camps and that kind of stuff. And I also just I love the personal training aspect. I had to get back into that because I was kind of more of like a management role, when we got up and running and stuff. And I had to, because I couldn't do it, I had to pass on clients to my other staff. Because I had other responsibilities and because I was helping them grow too, here, take this client. But I ended up circling back to that after our gym reopened from being forced to close for 7 months. I had to jump back in the trenches to save my business. And we held on for 3 years, but it was tremendously difficult. Countering all of the negative stuff that came out of COVID with gyms and the fear mongering and the masking and just all the limitations and the things that you couldn't do in New York that a lot of states could do. But yeah.
Yeah, it was tough time for sure. I remember even my regular clients, all this stuff for a couple weeks for sure, maybe even for a couple of months, because we didn't know what I was and people were scared. So I didn't see my clients for maybe for 2, 3 months, I think. Yeah, and then later we kind of got used to the idea and new reality. So that was weird. It's also interesting. Like this conversation kind of like made me realize how much. Let's say you just take last decade, how much fitness changed. Everything you said, it's true. I didn't even realize like CrossFit is really not as popular as it used to be, but that's true. I remember I even did a couple of CrossFit competition, but the same thing, I got injured and I quit doing CrossFit. I figured like it's not worth it.
No, 18% or more was the injury rate for CrossFit. But CrossFit did some tremendous things for lifting, for weightlifting, for bringing that kind of workout to the forefront. I mean, Rogue Fitness like is a huge, is on the map now thanks to CrossFit. Same thing with Reebok. Reebok, got to reinvent themselves thanks to signing up and being the shoe for CrossFit. Like really, really cool. Like a lot of neat stuff came out of CrossFit. We now use words like AMRAP and EMOM, right? That was never really an acronym that I ever used before CrossFit came on now the US Open of CrossFit, I mean, just really, really, you look at Rich Froning now. He raises bison, and now he's got a company that offers lab work that brings phlebotomists to your house to get really affordable lab work. Like it's wild to see.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely landscape of fitness has changed. We are almost 1 hour into it, so we're gonna be slowly wrapping up. I just want to ask you because you have so much experience, and it's really amazing to see you having the same enthusiasm when I met you, and you still have it now. What is it like to keep people enthusiastic about fitness and a healthy lifestyle? Do you have your magical recipe to stay motivated and then keep going? What drives you to be so passionate about it?
I think my own personal determination, I'm determined. I'm determined to be better than I was yesterday. I'm determined to learn more than I did yesterday. Um, Having a purpose in life is really, really important. And that's why it's important for all for the listening public out there to find, to do what you love, right? To pursue your passion. If you don't have a purpose, that's like the end, you know. And I do have a purpose, and I have dialed into what makes me so happy is helping people. And I mean, if you go back and you look at the video that Suffolk Times did about body right training, it's on our Body Right Training Instagram page. The Suffolk Times did a really nice video that really captured the essence of who I am and what Body Right represents. You know, when I was coming up with a name, right? Uh, Talked about Greg Trent, GT Fitness. That sounds cool, you know. My name's Paige Romanowski. Um, this just doesn't really like Paige Romanowski Fitness. You know, it just doesn't really work. You know? I mean, I love the Polish, but it doesn't really work. So I had to cut, and it didn't express what I wanted to get across. Body right training was a couple things, and I did hire a designer to work with me for the look and the aesthetic of the brand. But right, you know, the spelling is RITE. And a rite of passage, as you know, is a tremendous thing that people go through once or a couple times throughout their life. It signifies a change, right? You were here and now you're there. You know, whether it's getting married, going through your bar bat mitzvah, your first baptism, communion, you know, whatever it is, that you are never that. You are now a new changed person. It's a metamorphosis. So that's why it's spelled RITE, because when you take on a body right life, right? It's a transformation, you know, and it's not just about, oh, I look better naked, which I talk about a lot on Instagram because it's funny. But it's a health transformation, you know, because now, you know, we're talking about longevity, increasing your health span, you know, ridding your body of inflammation, you know, caused by toxic seed oils and processed sugar, all those kinds of things. It's a true transformation. And then, you know, the more you do, right, the better you feel, the more you can do, right? So there is that. And then, so when I think of body right training, I think of a butterfly. And then if you look at the logo, body
Mm.
of the O is kind of like a fat O, and then it changes to a skinny O. That kind of represents the transformation that someone takes on, you know, because most of the people that I want to help the most, I mean, I want to help everybody, are the people that, you know, that are obese, that need to lose weight. That's my favorite kind of client. And they are the hardest people to work with, but it only makes me a better professional, right? So yeah, so it's just I love what I do. And the other thing is it's important not to pay attention to the noise, you know, to not get caught in the trap of social media. Because and you know, being, you know, in psychology, you it could ruin you. You know, if you pay attention to all that exterior noise. You know, I always say to my people and I say to myself, the recipe for misery is comparison. And I did that for a long time as a personal trainer, comparing my success, my fanship, my body to that of other people. And it's a hill you'll never get up, you know, which is why you have to almost just, it's so cliche, but the power of self-belief is very, very powerful. And not a lot of people can do that. That's why I have such tremendous respect for athletes, professional athletes that can overcome the negative thoughts, all the negative stuff that we're not even conscious of, that's flying inside of our brains. They can overcome that, the discipline, right? The skill, and then to be able to perform at such a high level in front of strangers, of haters, you know? So it really, you know, doing you and not paying attention to the noise, you know, not listening to the negative, you know, believing in yourself and pursuing your dream like it's your job. Great things will happen. You know, it took people telling me that I can't do this. It took someone pushing me and bullying me to take that step of faith. You know, I had to get really ticked off to do it. So I can't take the credit for it being my own idea because it wasn't. But I embraced it. And here I am. Yeah, sure. My whole body right community, you know, has changed so much over the years. Especially now that I'm here in South Carolina, I'm starting over again. And that's okay. You know, that's okay. It is, and I'll conclude with this, Martine. You know, it used to be about ego for me, you know. It's not, you know, when my yoga instructor Sam Acklick, who's a dear friend. She's just a sister to me. When we speak often. Drew Kelly now has twins. Bodyrite. That's kind of where the relationship started. They got married. They have kids now. But when Sam calls me up, and Mike is, doing his own thing, Body by Caraza. A lot of our Bodyrite clients have now found community with him. Rachel Goodale, Stroller Strong Mamas. She's killing it. I feel blessed and humbled that I was a part of their journey as professionals. I don't pat myself on the back and say, "Hey, I did such a great job." I feel privileged that I was a part of their lives at that time, and that yes, there are still, I mean, there are friendships that have been forged from that community at Body Right. People still working out together, people still doing this thing because they learned this. That's what I want. I want to make an impact on the world. I don't want to be mediocre about what I'm doing. It's serious because you only get
Mm.
one chance, right? You only get one opportunity to do it. And I'm doing my best to do that. And although now its shape has changed, its size has changed, the mission is still there to help people harness their health, to teach people how to build a quality plate, hopefully get people jacked in the process, and to love on people because that's what we need. We need more love.
Yeah, yeah. I think we also, well, you mentioned a lot of people and a lot of experiences. I think we as a trainers, well, I remember when I was a young trainer, that was all about like feeling. I felt threatened by other trainers, to be honest, a little bit. I thought I felt that competition a lot, but I think we really do need to do better as a community and support one another. That's why I started this podcast because I kind of get mature enough to understand that we are doing the same thing. That's the same purpose that we are all driven by. So yeah, I think honestly, I didn't know how much struggle you went through, and then the bullying and being people who were mean
Oh
to
yeah.
you, especially when I have the perception of you as being extremely supportive and positive. So it's kind of open minded. That's why I love these stories. I have one last question to finish
Sure.
because I also kind of like ask myself this. How long can one be a personal trainer? Do you see yourself retiring? What's the age that personal trainers should retire or they should not? Or what do you think about it? Because I sometimes feel like that would be so cool being an old man and still coach people.
100%. 100%. I mean, because the population that we work with ages too. It's a part of life. I mean, you look at like Mark Sisson, who is the founder of Primal Kitchen, and of Primal Health Coach, which is where my health coaching certification is. I mean, the guy's a zillionaire, and he's still out there doing crazy stuff, and he's like 70 something going on 30. So, I don't think you can put a number on it. I think as long as your heart is there, because the minute you stop giving a darn, you should probably bow out, like just a bad example. I had a pedicure today, and this girl was just not into it. And, I'm a runner too, and I need my toenails cut short. And I've just been really caught up with stuff here in South Carolina. I have not had a pedicure, I'm ashamed to say, probably in a while. So they're now talent. So I need to get my toenails trimmed. And this girl just, she could just tell she hated her job. She was not into it, and she did not do a good job. And of course, I still tipped her, because I felt bad for her. But same thing with personal training. If your heart's not in it anymore and you're not excited to see your client, and you're not committed to supporting them on the struggle bus, then you should probably step away and find something else. I don't think that, you know, I mean, as a woman, how you look. Men just look better as they age. My husband gets more and more handsome by the day. I'm like, I hate you. He just looks so good as he ages. He does. But women, we're so critical of ourselves, but we age in a very different way than men do. And sometimes it could be a little challenging when you're putting the spandex on and you're like, is my butt as plump as it used to be? Should I maybe be wearing like sweatpants today? You know, should I not be a personal trainer because I'm not cute and hot like that 25-year-old? Um, I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing. It might change in degrees, but there's no way I'm going to stop helping people in the capacity that I'm doing. Now, of course, I'm very interested in the health coaching portion of my practice right now. Um, Mainly because of sort of what my situation is. But I love personal training, and I'm not going to stop. And I don't care how old I am. Like I said, it might change in degrees, but I think you really have to gauge the passion meter. Um, and if you can't be 100% there for your clients, then you should really not be in this industry anymore.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Paige. This was very inspiring, and then your passion is really contagious. So I really
Oh,
love this conversation.
I'm so excited that we got a chance to connect. It's so cool how things come for full circle, and I appreciate you being interested in me and all of your kind words. Really very, very humbling. Would love to talk with you again.
Thank you, Paige. That was really lovely time. Thank you.
Thank you.